Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you again for joining us today. My name is Ann Siler, and we're going to jump in and take a look at the HPE Alletra 5000 and 6000 storage arrays. And then I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to John Busshart, who's going to go through the DSCC demo. We'll talk about what that is in a couple minutes. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out looking at the HPE block storage portfolio. We're really going to focus on the Alletra 5000 and 6000 today, but I really like to lay out the whole portfolio so you kind of get a feeling for where we're focused in our conversations today. So if we take a look at the far left, we've got our entry-level MSA solution. We have our 5,000 as our next step up in our platforms, and then our 6,000 as our next step up in our platforms from there. We're not really going to touch on the MSA on the entry space or the Alletra 9000, which is our mission critical 100% availability guarantee solution today. We're also not going to talk on our XP, but just keep in mind that HP's got a storage solution to fit any of your customers' needs, from very small all the way up to the very big enterprise. And that's really what I like to remind people. As far as what we're looking at here, the block middle three are going to be our focus points as we move forward. And they're categorized as three different application levels. So we call our Alletra 5000 our general purpose array, right? For that customer that has, that average VM environment, is looking for, an affordable price tag, but definitely needs some space to grow. It's a great solution. For that customer that, they're doing VDI or they need that flash performance, that's where our 6000 sits in our business critical app space. And then again, we're not going to cover the 9000 today, but this is for the customer that needs that always on storage. They need that guarantee from HPE that it's 100% available all the time. That's going to be our mission critical solution. So let's continue on and take a further look. So why are we coming back to the table going, hey, everybody, have you looked at the Alletra 5000, 6000? If you haven't, let's talk about it on this webinar. We're doing that because these arrays here, which are our Gen 5 arrays, and they've been around for at least the past 5 years, are officially announced end of life on January 30th. The discontinuance date is going to be June 30th, and then following up will fall off our price sheet and they'll no longer be orderable as of July 31st. For those not familiar with HPE's end of life structure, when you announce end of life, you usually have a few months. Upon discontinuance, stock becomes an issue, right? So there's no guarantee until obsolescence, anything will be available. So if you have a customer that's focused, doesn't want to make a change, you get that pipeline moving now. Otherwise, let's take the opportunity to go ahead and jump over to our new products, which we'll talk about right now. Before I do, I just want to go ahead and make sure everybody is aware, if you've sold these arrays, it's okay. They're going end of life. We've got something newer and faster, but remember, HPE is going to go ahead and support them for the next 5 years. So don't sweat it. You got long support, with HPE. So this is my splash screen, because what people forget with these name changes is the Alletra 5000 and Alletra 6000 are really nimble arrays, okay? They are the next generation of nimble storage arrays. So I know the name is completely different, but it's not a completely different array. And this slide kind of backs me up, right? The Alletra 5000 and 6000 are based on 10 years of DNA, right? 10 years of people loving Nimble, 10 years of people buying Nimble. We've got that history behind us. We've got 45,000 solutions deployed globally. We've got 20,000 customers, and they all have 6 nines of availability, as well as these new ones, okay? Great support experience. People love Nimble arrays. There's a lot of proactivity built into them. If you don't know that, we're going to go over some of those features. If you do, we're just going to refresh you on it. Okay. So what's new? Why did we go over to the name Alletra? Why do we have to change the names of things? It's so hard to follow. Well, HPE believes they want to give you a cloud experience wherever data lives, right? So 80+% of customers out there have some IT in the cloud. for whatever reason, whether it be Exchange or whether it be an application they need to run at some presence is in the cloud, and the cloud is perceived as being easy, right? It's perceived as being quick, right? And that feeling and that market trend, HPE wants to jump in and go, okay, you know what? We're having on-prem solutions, but we want to make them cloud-like. We want to make that feel of everything at your fingertips be part of our platform. And that's where we're going with the Alletra storage products. And you'll see, again, there's 3 here. We have an Alletra 4000, which is a replacement for our Apollo 4200, and you're going to see that name perpetuate through the product line. Okay, so we're enhancing our platforms to give them a cloud-like feel for setup, for management, but still giving the on-prem solution. Okay, so this, when you log in, when a customer logs in, this is our Business Transformation Center, and you can see I have my menu of options. John's going to go over this more than I am, but I went ahead and clicked on Data Services Cloud Console because I'm going to be in the storage avenue today, and here's all my options. There are going to be many more. Soon we're going to have a Zerto option. We're going to have other options appear here, right? But for right today, John's going to go ahead and talk to you about the block, either the block or the data ops manager. He's going to be the one that points to wherever you want to go. And he's going to go through and demo this solution for you. So really what they're trying to do, HPE, is trying to provide your customer with the menu of solutions. You're selling them the solution, and then they can go in here and they can choose where they want to be. They can choose the solution that they want to use today. When we look at this Data Center Services Cloud Console, what are we really getting to? Well, we're getting to simplifying your experience, right? So when you simplify your experience, you're taking simplified deployment, ease of upgrades, intelligent-based provisioning, management from anywhere, right? All these aspects intertwine and really go ahead and give power to what your interface is. Now, if you're like, you know what, this is great, but I've always used the Nimble, right? The onboard administrator. That's okay, it's still there, right? So you're going to have this ability to do it cloud or locally. So don't worry about that. These new arrays are going to require an internet connection to HPE, right? So they will require that phone home. Majority of customers I work with, they always keep that phone home on for that info site logistics. But all in all, this is just to simplify and give you another pathway to make it more of a cloud-like feel. Okay, privacy, there are actually 3 slides in here for security. I hid a couple of them. They'll be in the reference when I send them to you. But basically, this is saying that, you know, except for the customer name, the company name, the address, no data is going to HPE, right? All they're looking for is device events. Hey, I loaded VMware update X and it made this happen. Or, hey, listen, I'm at 90% capacity, my performance is going to start shuddering, right? I want to alert them, hey, you need to go ahead and get some upgrades, right? Hey, your throughput, what did you do in your environment? We need to look at it because your throughput today went down, you know, stuff like that. Those are the type of alerts that are going to HPE. Hey, this drive is seeing a lot of issues. Maybe we need to replace it, and HPE is shipping you a new drive. So that's the type of data that's going up to HPE. Okay. I'm going to jump right into the product now. We've got our Alletra 5000 product overview. We're going to here's our Alletra 5000. It's going to look very familiar because it is just like a half generation pop from our Nimble adaptive flash arrays. Okay, there's a couple differences and I'll point them out, but really this is the same dense chassis it was before. It has a new faceplate on it, but other than that, you have your 6 nines of availability. You've got all your data efficiencies. You've got your info site, and it's still the easy button of Nimble. Okay, this all-purpose, general-purpose array is great for VM workloads, general-purpose workloads, test dev, even backup. You know, definitely a great platform because it combines your little bit of flash with a lot of spinning disk, and it accelerates that performance and keeps that budget low for those customers that can't afford that all flash platform, or they need more density than the all flash platform. If we go ahead and look at our models, we have our 5010, we've got our 5030, and we've got our 5050. this is the slide for those that are selling our older models, moving us over to the new flavors of all the Nimble. You're going to see no H models, but good news, in the next month and a half, 2 months, we are going to have a half populated Alletra 5010. Okay, compression only models went away. They really see a big push for that out there. And there is all of the software and support is contained in one line item on your quote. Okay. Since this is just a refresh of an older chassis, all of these upgrades, if a customer wanted to go ahead and upgrade their controllers today, they can go ahead and do that. Right, so let's go over what our adaptive flash array does for us. Remember, it's got SSD and it's got spinning disk, which makes it a great affordable platform. And our architecture of Nimble really makes this platform work because it really brings out the strengths in what the architectures can do. So the Castle architecture is a log structured file system. It translates random writes into sequential, supporting writes variable block sizes. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is a write comes in, or an IO comes in, and it hits controller, active controller, controller 1, and then it's immediately mirrored over to controller 2. Controller 2 goes, I got it. Goes back to the OS and says, hey, listen, we got this right, go ahead, I'm all set. Okay, then from there, it uses this DRAM space. DRAM space is very fast, right? It's memory. Of course, it's fast. And this is where all the work's done. You got your different block sizes. They go through and say, hey, can I dedupe any? Okay. Can I compress any? Okay. Am I encrypting? I am. Okay. And then I'm building a big sequential stripe. That sequential stripe goes ahead and gets written down here to spinning disk. And any hot data that's used a lot, and there'll be a table in there for reference, gets copied over here to cache. Okay, so what do we just do? We took this big stripe and we put it on a drive that loves sequential writes, right? So it took advantage of it. And what do? We copied our hot blocks over here to flash, right? So if anybody comes in and is reading this data, they're going to get very, very quick response times because it's all on flash. And that's really the glory of our adaptive flash arrays from Nimble. This is just showing you a read. It's just reverse logic, right? Checking the cache, saying, oh, not there. I'm going to go to DRAM. Oh, not there. I'm going to go over here to SSD. Oh, it's there. I got it. Or it's going over here to disk. Okay. Here's what the drive layout looks like, exactly like if you sold an HF40 or an HF20, right? Nothing has changed from a physical concept of this platform. You've still got 21 spinning disks, right? In a triple parity RAID. And then you've got 6 SSDs, okay? These are going to be sold 3 at a time, giving you a little bit more modularity than you had with the previous generation, right? If we go ahead and take a look, this is just showing you your rear cage. Again, it's still that spouty form factor, but still a great platform. We look here up close at the controller. I've got 3 slots. I can add fiber channel, I can add iSCSI, I can add a multitude of connectivity, I can add couple. I've got my 2 onboard 10 gig ports that slow down to 1, and then I've got my expansion ports, of course. If we take a look here, this is really an eye chart kind of for reference, but it's just showing you all the connectivity options that are available for this platform. If we look here, this slide is my favorite for the 5000 because it shows you the difference. Here's our Nimble Gen 5. Here's our brand new 5000. What changed? The processor. What else changed? My smallest drive is now 2 terabytes. Manufacturers are getting away from 1 terabyte disks, therefore 2 terabytes is the smallest one. Again, if you have a small customer, needs a little bit of storage space, they need to stay with the hybrid, that half populated chassis should be out in the next few weeks. Okay, so this is a good reference slide to see what the difference is from your current Nimble Gen 5 generation. Okay, here's our scalability. We've got our minimum disk capacity, maximum cache capacity. This is just an eye chart. I put it in here because I wanted you to see that the maximum drive shelves, these models are very, very expandable. You've got those big disks, combine them with cache, and you got performance. Okay. All right, here's our expansion shelf. I left this in here because I wanted you to note that when you sell an expansion shelf, it'll no longer come with flash drives. you got to choose your flash separate. I personally love that idea. A lot of times it'd come with smaller ones. The customer would have to remove them and go ahead and replace them with bigger one. Who wants to waste that cost? So this new expansion enclosure is just going to give you some more modularity. All right, we talked about this briefly. Cross-family upgrades are already available. We moved from the Gen 5 to the Gen 5.5, we'll call it. If they want to do that, they can go ahead and purchase a controller. Whoops, there was another slide in there I must have hid. So let's say, for instance, they have an HF40. They want to go ahead and upgrade to a 5050. They can go ahead and buy that controller upgrade today and do a data place upgrade without any interruption. Okay. All right. Moving on into our all-flash Alletra 6000 platform. So this Alletra 6000 platform is all NVMe. This is a brand new chassis. It's about 3.5 inches shorter as far as the rack depth goes. Okay. So we take a look at all-flash. It's meant for your higher performance workloads. It's meant to future-proof your environment. And if you're competing against the Pures, or the IBMs, or the other array manufacturers out there, they're leading with all flash. So I encourage you to do the same. On opportunities I work on, I'll walk in with an Alletra 6000 solution. And if I know that maybe budget will come into question, I'll have that 5000 configuration in my back pocket. But I'm always leading with the Alletra 6000 NVMe, all NVMe platform, because I know my competition is, and I want to make sure I line up with my competition in features, functionality, and performance. This is a very busy chart, but basically it's showing you our 6000 line is five models deep, and then it's showing you how it lines up to our older Gen 5 arrays. I want to call out that the AF20, I did not recommend on purpose. The performance was like very minimal. Honestly, MSA might have been a better option. In the new Alletra 6000, I am happy to say the 6010 is a very viable all NVMe entry flash solution. The performance on this little guy is terrific. So if you have a customer that has 92 terabytes or less capacity need over the 3 to 5 years you put that array in there, the 6010 has proven to me over the past year and a half to be a great entry all flash solution at a great price. Let's break it down a little more. What else is different? Well, I told you it was less, it wasn't quite as deep, right? It's about 3.5 inches shorter, okay, which is great for your rack architecture. It's also built on AMD processors, right? So we moved away from Intel on this generation. This is on AMD. We move up to the PCIe 4 spec. What does that bring in? That brings in faster connectivity. I can now do 100 gig. I can now do 4 32 gig fiber channel ports. On my external connectivity to my other chassis for expansion, I can do NVMe, right? So the PCI 4 spec brings in additional performance, and we needed that performance to keep up with the NVMe architecture, okay? You got 6 PCIe slots for lots of expansion. Each unit supports up to 2 JBOFs, okay? All right, let's take a look at all flash. This is pretty easy, right? You've only got one type of disk. It's all SSD. The IO comes in, it's mirrored to the second controller. Everybody's like, I got it. It goes into DRAM, all the magic happens, right? Your variable blocks, you get deduplicated, you get compressed. If you want to be encrypted, you can turn that on at the volume level. You don't have to, but it's definitely there. Take advantage. Writes it into a sequential stripe, indexes it, and boom, it's out on your SSDs. Okay, and everything is going to be fast because everything is on SSD. Right? Reads were just, reads were just the reverse, right? Checking cache, it's not there. I'm going to go to DRAM. If it's not there, I'm going to SSD. Okay. All right, here's our lineup. It just shows you that, hey, there's 5 models here I can take a look at, right? It's telling you how many processors per controller, how many cores are per controllers, but most importantly, it's telling you, what your minimum capacity is and then what your scalability is, okay? I just want to note down here that HPE is going to lead with 1600 watt power supplies from your 6030 on. If your customer can't support those high voltage power supplies, you do have an option with the 6030 and 6050 to go ahead and choose 800 watt. The 6070 and the 6090, too much power draw, so it's going to be high voltage only. Okay. All right, this is a flashy slide. These are lots of colors, but basically what I'm showing you here is each enclosure has 2 controllers. The 6010, which is that awesome entry-level array, has 3 PCI slots each for connectivity. And then your 6030 through your 6090 has up to 6 expansion slots for connectivity. Okay, there's an up close and personal. This one has, let's see, 4 ports there. It's got a lot going on in here. But anyway, you get the idea. See the 1600 watt power supplies, those are local to your controller. Okay, so those are a little different. You're going to have 4 per chassis. That goes for the 800 watt as well. Your management ports change. They go down to 1 gig, all you really needed for management. So they decided to make that change on this model. So there'll be 4 1 gig management ports per controller. Okay, here's your interfaces. These look a little different because they're a little faster. I have no more 16 gig fiber channel. Remember, 32 will slow down to 16, no problem. But I've got a 2-port card, a 4-port card, and then we've got 4-port 10 gig base T, 4-port SFP plus. I got a 10/25 SFP card. 28 card, which is great. If you think about it, there's no transceivers in here. So if you want to use DAC for many of your switching manufacturers, it's a go right out of the gate. And then we've got a 2-port 100 gig controller as well. All right, drive layout does look different from our Nimble Gen 5 array. So let's go over it. Got rid of the dual drive sled. I've heard manufacturers, not necessarily making those prevalently anymore. So what we did is now we have single drive bays. So when you go ahead and you purchase the Alletra 6000 series, you can purchase it with 12 drives populated, or you can purchase it with all 24 drives populated. I see customers do both, quite honestly. So it's really going to be up to what your end user is looking for. Something to keep in mind, and you'll see this on Wednesday when Dave goes through Ninja Stars, is when you have capacities and they're redundant. You'll see 2 46 terabytes, you'll see 2 92 terabytes. And the reason is because one comes with 12 drives and one comes with 24, and your capacities will result differently. What you need to think about on the back end is when you do a 12 drive, it's a 9+3 for your RAID, right? So you're going to have 9 data disks, you're going to lose 3 to parity. When you do a 24 disk, you're going to do a 21+3. So you get a better bang for your buck. A lot of people don't care. A lot of people are like, I just want ease of expansion. So sell me one with 12 disks and I can slide in 12 later. So again, it's going to be up to your customer. Just keep in mind your drive implementation is a little different than it was with your Gen 5. Same great features. Let's talk about what they were. People forget and they're like, oh, I forgot that did that, right? So inherently you get deduplication, you get compression, you get your zero pattern elimination, you get your thin provisioning, right? We have some of the best compaction out there from a storage array across the industry, right? So when you look at Nimble, feel very confident that you're going to get some great data reduction. We'll take a look at some numbers in a second. Encryption out of the box is standard functionality. If you want a volume encrypted, you go ahead and turn on that volume encryption at the time of creation. Triple plus parity, right? Something a little unique. You're like, triple plus parity, what's that, right? We'll talk about it in an upcoming slide, but you have a lot of data protection in your array. All right, then provisioning, again, reservation list, always on, leave it on. You've got your dedupe, you've got your compression, again, leave those on. Now, if you went in and you said, you know what, this is a bunch of databases, maybe you do turn off deduplication. It's not going to make a huge performance impact, but maybe slightly, right? But let's say you're conservative, or let's say you're taking over your environment from somebody else and they don't have dedupe turned on a volume. Well, you can go into InfoSight and you can look at the data and you can say, InfoSight, is dedupe going to help me? And it'll say, you know what, if you turned it on, you'd save 20%, right? So there's some really cool things in the InfoSight interface and the user interface for Nimble that you can really take advantage of. You're always going to leave on compression. It's always going to combine those blocks into a big stripe like we talked about. Some great data reduction, okay? If you want to look here, this is an interesting chart that shows all of the Nimbles around the world, right? And what we're seeing as compaction goes. So if you came into me and said, hey, Ann, I got 50 terabytes in an SQL volume, I would go into Ninja Stars and I would select SQL, and it would size me probably for about 2.71 data reduction. It's really cool to have this information and have this reference point in a sizing tool to be able to go ahead and fit your customer's environment well. Triple plus parity. So here we go. Let me get this animation. All right, okay. So triple plus parity means I can lose 3 drives and still be up and running. That is pretty cool, okay? If we look at this a little deeper, sorry, not my animation. If we take a look at it, every chunk of data, right? So all the drives are chopped up into chunks. Every chunk of data is gonna have its data, it's going to have its metadata area, and it's also going to have this parity area. And this parity area takes advantage of extra space and looks for errors. Hey, is there anything going on here? Is there anything I need to repair? Right. So it's that extra on top of those 3 disks. It's kind of the police to see what's going on and see if there's anything that needs to be corrected or isolated, placed for that matter. All right, and we've got lots of replication technologies. We've got Smart Snap, we've got clones, we've got replication to a different site, we've got pure persistence, which makes that cluster local replication set. So if we take a look real quick, best in class snapshots, right? We've got 0 performance overhead for taking snapshots. So take them, right? We just sold an AF40 about 9 months ago into a customer. Installer came in, he set up their snapshot so well that they were hit with ransomware 5 weeks later and they were able to recover and have no impact. The customer was so excited, right? They came in, replaced their aging array, snapshots were set up correctly. Take advantage of this technology. If you go ahead and sell your customers a Alletra platform of any type, or an MSA or anything, make sure you're using your snapshot technology for those local data sets, right? Why wouldn't you? It's not impacting you negatively at all. It's just keeping a point in time snapshot. It's not changing any data or keeping any excess data unless data changes, right? So it's the way to go. We have snapshot consistency for all these different applications. We've also got integration with these 3 platforms as well as other ones like some medical specific platforms and everything like that. Honestly, look at example Veeam, right? If you have Veeam and you have Enterprise Plus Veeam, it'll go in, it'll create your VMware snapshot, it'll trigger your Alletra snapshot and mount it, and it lets your VMware environment go about its business and releases that snapshot and just goes ahead and backs it up. You can manage all of your snapshots from within Veeam, from within Commvault, from with Cohesity. There's just so much integration out there. Just take advantage of the snapshot, even if you don't use these backup softwares, right? Just that local replication is going to save you so much time and protect you so much in the long run. We go here, smart copies. Some people like to clone their data, and when you clone traditionally, if you have a terabyte and you're cloning it, you're using a terabyte of data. A little different with Nimble, the Alletra platforms. When you clone, it's going to be a zero data copy, right? So it's just going to go ahead and have a bunch of pointers. So it's actually really nice because you don't have to go ahead and lay out all that extra capacity for your testing purposes. So take advantage of that for test and dev. Smart replicate means that I can have an Alletra in data center 1 and replicate over to an Alletra in data center 2. Boom, no problem. It does it all via snapshot. Your first array copy is going to be your seed, and then it's just going to send your data changes from there. Now, why is this cool? Well, this is cool because I could have, let's say, an environment that bought an AF40 last year and now they're doing DR. Well, I can go ahead and replicate that AF40 to my new Alletra 6000. Or I could take my Alletra 6000 and put it in their production environment and move that AF40 over to their DR environment, right? Remember, Alletra 5000, 6000 are nimble under the covers. So I have that replication support across my generations of array, okay? Pure persistence, synchronous capability, okay? That means that these 2 arrays can talk to each other over a very fast pipeline. So we're not talking New York and California, we're talking college campus, we're talking bank campus, right? Where this data looks like a local area network, right? What does it do? It's presenting this volume and keeping volume consistency. So if something happened and this array goes down, it seamlessly fails over to this secondary array. Okay, and it keeps that it keeps that server consistent access to data because it is a cluster of storage with very, very low latency in the middle. All right, InfoSight, we didn't lose it. It's still here. It is an amazing tool, right, for the environment. So for those people that have not heard of InfoSight, it's the ability to go ahead and have that individual management of resources constantly. It's doing stuff for you, right? So my Nimble array, let's say I installed an update on the hypervisor and something happened and my performance on my Ethernet driver went to heck, right? Now I'm at a crawl, right? For whatever reason, HPE will see that. You'll work with them, you'll resolve the problem. At the same time, they go ahead and take that issue and they look at all their Nimbles around the world and they say, okay, 642 more people will have this issue if they implement this update. We're putting a block on that update code. Okay, and they prevent that outage, right? And in addition to that, they take those parameters and they go back to the hypervisor and say, hey, listen, this update that just came down, I just want you to know it's causing this issue. And they go, oh no, I don't think it is. And we're like, oh yeah, it is. Here's your parameters. And they're like, okay, we'll fix it, right? So that happens every day. InfoSight, we purchased Nimble. Within 9 months, it got pushed out to our Alletra 9000, which at that time was Primera platform. And I've never seen anything go so fast from purchase to actual production environment. And honestly, it's been a great solve. There's lots of success stories on both sides. John can tell you he's had a cache module on a controller fail and a box show up with the cache module instructions going, hey, listen, when you have a chance, can you pull that out, replace it, and send it back? And he does it. A drive show up on his doorstep. So InfoSight is very, very powerful. It's again the artificial intelligence with the machine learning to really allow your environment to prevent an outage. Welcome Center. People forget all the time about the Welcome Center. It's really cool. If you guys are partners that go ahead and sell Nimble or Alletra and you want to go ahead and install it, you're out there with the customer trying to install it, you get stuck, they got unboxing videos, they got walkthroughs. This is just a very resourceful place as far as support goes. Definitely take advantage of it if you haven't checked it out. Support, you got your basics, you got your support with Alletra, the Alletra series, just like you do with your server platforms you sell every day. I think a sweet spot's right here, your Tech Care Essentials Exchange. It's 24/7 with basically delivery of parts. Depot guy comes, says, hey, listen, I'm going to put this on the desk. Can you give it to your IT guy? He goes, yep, and they leaves, right? So this is a great example. I sold a customer. It was I think it was the Tech Care Essential service, just got the array and he was having some issue with the power supply. So he called, he's like, listen, I'm having an issue. They're like, okay, no problem. We'll get it to you by 2. And he goes, 2? Yeah, right. It was like, 10 in the morning or maybe 12. And he's like, 2? Yeah, right. And they're like, no, you're right. By the time the guy gets here, it probably will be more like 3. So he's sitting in his office, it's 3 o'clock. He's like, yeah, they didn't get here, right? His mail guy comes down the aisle with the big box and says, hey, listen, this arrived for you about an hour and a half ago. And he's like, darn it, right? So that story about Nimble support is real. I hear it over and over again from customers on what a pleasure it is to speak with these support people, how responsive they are, and definitely you have a plethora of options here. You've got 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, along with all these support. You can add DMR, CDMR, and here's your data sheet for reference. Okay, plug for Ingram. If you do sell HPE installation, wonderful. Okay, HPE can do a great job, but you know who else can do a great job? Ingram Micro. The difference is if you leverage Ingram Micro for your installation services, again, you're still selling HPE. Okay, the installation for HPE for the Alletra 5000, 6000, but you're saying, Ingram, I want you to deliver this for me. Let me talk about the value add on that. Ingram's going to work with you. They're not going to go directly to the end user. You can work with Ingram ahead of time prior to your sale. You can say, hey, listen, guys, I'm also selling a Fortinet firewall. Can you also deliver installation on that? And we can augment those services for you. You can have a closer connectivity We only have a few people that do this across the country, right? You can get a relationship with them. There's a lot to be said about what Ingram can add to your deal, right? You want to go ahead and go ahead and make that connection with your customer from a delivery perspective, because you're selling a bunch of other things. Maybe you're selling Veeam software. Hey, Ingram, I'd like to add on your services for Veeam software. Can you do it all for me? So keep in mind, Ingram can offer you that additional relationship that HPE has, but they're going to have with your end user. We can do it at the partner level and make it a more seamless fruition of implementation. If you have any questions, there's an email on here. You'll have my contact information. Happy to talk to you about it. Just keep that back of your mind that Ingram will deliver on your Alletra 5,000 and 6,000 installations you sell with HPE. Earning opportunities. For everybody on the phone that wants to make money, we have a bunch of opportunities. Cloud physics assessment. If you haven't heard about cloud physics, let me know. Schedule some time with me. You'll have a a bookings link on the email I send out. Let's talk about it. I can show you what John's cloud physics assessment that we keep running it all the time looks like, right? By just running an assessment with your customer in their environment, you can earn $500 with a deal registration. Demo. John does demos for me at least once every 2 weeks, if not more. We want to do more, right? All these $250 demos, the $250 can be yours for the demo opportunity. If you have a deal registration, you pull your end user in with John. John goes through and demos the Alletra 6000 and DSCC Data Services Console, Cloud Console, right? You go ahead and you can earn $250. So just keep that in mind. We have lots of demo, and demos are really what kind of the frosting on the cake when you're baking that cake. Storage 1, 2, 3. There are engage and grow opportunities for money out there, and they all stack. So just keep in mind, if you haven't visited the Engage and Grow portal and you have Engage and Grow eligibility, which every partner should unless the company decides not to, right? There is money to be made. And HP's got trade-in, right? So if you have competitive servers, right, there's a lot of money to be made. If you have an old storage system, right, and you're not going to do anything with it, why not see if HPE will give you some money for it, right? Let's stack all these except for the trade-in, which you can see down here is you got to go there. It's a one-by-one kind of thing. But let's say I'm selling that 6010 entry-level all-flash Alletra, right? If I stack my, these are hypotheticals, if I throw 8 points margin on there, I think I was pretty conservative. Engage and Grow spiffs, cloud physics assessment, product demo, on a $43,000 array, you can make $7,200, right? What a great money-making opportunity. And that money-making just continues with your higher end arrays. There's more to be made. If you have any questions on this, again, please let me know. We can have bigger conversations. I just want to make sure you guys understand there's money to be made with HPE storage solutions. Additional training opportunities, another plug for Ingram. Just want you to know there's a sizing and solution configuration part 2 to this training today on Wednesday. And then we've got some OCA. If you want to learn how to use OCA, we've got some upcoming delivery. With that being said, I thank you so much for your attention. And I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn it over to John.
Let's see, let me share my screen. Oh, looks like I can't share my screen. Looks like it's telling me that host disabled participant screen sharing. So somebody needs to give me kind of the rights to be able to do that.
I thought I did, John. Try it again.
All right, here we go. I think that
Got
worked.
it?
All right, can everybody see my desktop?
I can.
All right. So my name is John Busshart. I work out of Ingram Micro's Business Transformation Center. As Ann alluded to, that we are certainly a demonstration facility. As I go through this, think about how you can engage me. Again, there's that $250 you can get for Engage Me to provide demonstrations for your for your customers. I'm also available for your internal team. Again, I could show you these technologies, give your internal team hands-on with this product. I support across HPE portfolio, so networking technologies, storage technologies, as well as compute technologies. Now, Ann talked a lot about the Data Services Cloud Console, which I have circled over here, but I think that talks to a larger vision within HPE and the GreenLake platform, right? And that's where this lives, is underneath the GreenLake platform. Now, I know a lot of people think of GreenLake GreenLake as kind of the traditional model, or pay for what you utilize on a monthly basis. So if your customer got, I know 30 terabytes of storage and only use 25, they'd only pay for 25 on that monthly basis. And it's something that we've heard a lot about over the years. But GreenLake, the thought around GreenLake is certainly expanding to not only the cost model, but also the day-to-day maintenance of an infrastructure. And that's what we're seeing with these other tiles that are over here. All right, so Compute Ops allows us to be able to manage on-prem client servers. Aruba Central allows us to be able to manage on-prem, networking solutions, so wireless as well as switches and things like that. And what we'll be talking about is the Data Services Cloud Council. But what I want to kind of point out is that there's no other vendor that's out there that's got the comprehensive cloud story for on-prem hardware like HPE does. They can manage across stack within this environment. With your customers. So certainly, plus these also are upsell opportunities. Your customer gets an Alletra, 5,000 or 6,000 array. Certainly they're going to get the Data Services Cloud Console, but now we can start to have other conversations, right, around different solutions that they can add on into their environment to kind of get that comprehensive management. Even if I launch the Data Services Cloud Console, and we'll go on there. There are other services that are certainly available, and I'll talk about one of the upgrade services. Now, when you get an Alletra, an array, whether that be a 5,000, a 6,000, or even a 9,000, you're going to get block storage. You're going to get Data Ops Manager in here. So Data Ops Manager, we're not going to spend any really much time in that if we go in there, but that would be where you'd manage at the array level, or meaning, I'm going to change the IP address on something, change the name server, or something at that level. Block storage is probably where a lot of your end users will play. This is where they'll actually create volumes, and this is what I'm going to show you as we go inside this. So I'm going to launch this. Now, keep in mind that this is a cloud-based platform up here. So I'm logged into the cloud up here, right? But I can manage, across my entire environment, right? So not only, right, devices that are like I said, storage devices, but also, compute devices from a holistic level. Now, this is the cloud-based management. There we go, finally populated. Over here, you can see I'm managing 3 arrays up here. So I certainly have an Alletra 6000, right? But look at what else am I managing? I'm managing a Nimble array as well as a Primera array up in here, right? So let's kind of think about that a little bit. So this is managing from the cloud. Now keep in mind, this cloud is safe and secure. You got secure tunnels, as well as you can enable 2-factor authentication to get into this environment, right? So this is a lot better than working with maybe the local management interface. So if some of you have been doing Nimble in the past, maybe this looks a little bit familiar. So this is, again, Alletra 6000 builds off the legacy of Nimble. All right, so this is the local management interface. But if you're dealing with your customers, right, you need to log into each individual site, probably through a VPN connection, in order to be able to manage that. Also, this interface is different than if we look at like a Primera-based system, or what's currently named an Alletra 9000. So this is the management interface for that, the local management interface for that. But the cloud console, the Data Services Cloud Console, is the great unifier of all this, right? Not that it's too difficult to kind of even manage locally on those, but this is one management interface that you'll utilize in order to provision volumes and to manage the entire infrastructure in an environment. So I think that's an important case to bring up. Now, one thing I would like to note, with the Alletra 6000, the Alletra branded systems, those will certainly be connected into the cloud. You will need to do that with if your customer has a Primera, or they have the 5th generation Nimble boxes, you can bring those into this interface as well. As a matter of fact, if I look over here, here's a Nimble storage system. This is actually an AF40. If I go under administration and down to customization here, right, you'll see the Data Services Cloud Count. I have a subscription key. So as long as your customer has support, they can leverage these services that I'm going to show you, with their support contract. And the same thing is true with the Primera. If I go over to settings over here and I go into telemetry, you'll go down here and you'll see I have the Data Services Cloud Console subscription key. So again, that's valid as long as you have active support, and it allows you to be able to manage this and then get those upsell opportunities that we were talking about. And I'll talk about a few more as we kind of go through this. So keep in mind, you can manage out of the cloud, you can manage locally if you want to, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you a little bit of that. We'll provision a couple volumes within this environment. So if I select over here, this little hamburger menu, and I go down to storage, we're going to see some parameters around storage or some storage that's provisioned. Now you'll see volumes here. So that's an individual volume. That's something you'd present in an environment. You also see volume sets. So that's a grouping together of volumes that have the same snapshot schedule is what I would say. So if I go down a little bit further, I'm looking for one in particular. I've got this volume set, and you can see it has 7 volumes down here. If I click on that, right, I can look in here a little bit deeper, and I'll be able to see all the volumes down here within this environment. And if I go over to protection here, these are the snapshot that exists for all these volumes inside this environment. Right, and over here under policy is the snapshot schedule. So if I go over here and edit this, you'll see that I have one that's set up to take a snap every day. This one takes one every hour, right? And this one over here takes one every week. All right, so I got that nice comprehensive. Again, going back to what Ann was saying, take as many snapshots as you want. This would be your first go-to if you get hit with malware or ransomware or something like that, to see if you can recover. And there's a lot of backup software that'll integrate into this, and I'll show you one in a little bit. All right, so there's kind of a volume. Let's go back over to storage, and let's create a volume using what HPE will call intent-based provisioning. So let's see. Let's go back over here. Let's try this one more time. I'm going to go back down to storage. And then we're going to click the plus sign up here. All right, now I'm going to select my storage tier. So I'm going to choose my Alletra 6000 based tier of storage. So this would choose any of the Alletra 6000 arrays your customer may have on site as potential candidates for provisioning volumes in the environment. Next, I'm going to select the workload. All right, in this case, I'm just going to do a Windows file server. It certainly could be a variety of things. And then I'm going to name my volumes. I'm just going to call this delete, so I remember to delete it later on. And I don't know, we'll make 2 volumes, and I'll make them some crazy. We'll do 245 gigabytes. And then I could present it to a host group. So a host group would be typically maybe like a VMware cluster. You can have host groups of 1. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to present it to one system in my environment. So why don't I choose this guy here? And then I'm going to select the protection policy. Now I could choose no protection policy if I wanted to, but what I think I'm going to do is choose this daily snapshot. So let's get me started kind of on the type of snapshots I'm going to perform. I'm going to modify this later to be more comprehensive for more of my environment. And now I'm going to click continue. Now what intent-based provision is going to do, it's going to look at my storage systems. It's going to make a decision on what storage system to use based on space, based on connectivity, and then more importantly, based on performance within the environment. And as you can see, it's had me pick out my Alletra array. If I didn't like that, I could certainly change that if I wanted to, but I want to go back to what they're recommending. We're going to use this array. I'm going to click continue. All right, and it's going to create that volume set or that volume collection, because I'm creating 2 arrays with a snapshot schedule on them. I'm going to click continue again and then submit. And this is going to go through the process of creating these volumes on the local array. Again, we did this from the cloud. You can be anywhere in the world and create these volumes. As a matter of fact, if we go back and look up at the array, they might be here already, but let's take a look. We go in here, you will see there is delete me 0 and delete me 1. All right, so I could certainly go in and create these volumes in this local interface, and they will show up in the cloud as well. So managing one, managing the other, get used to what's coming. You could certainly, if you're comfortable with this interface, you could certainly use this, but then get comfortable with what HPE is positioning, because there's a lot of upsell opportunities with that. I'll take one of these volumes, and we'll go to over here, and we could see there's that volume collection. And if I select that, we could see its snapshot schedule. Remember, I did once every day. We could see the volumes that are associated with it. Let's go back up into the cloud, and let's take a look at what I created and how it's viewed in the cloud. So let's go delete me, and there it is. You can see that volume collection. There's 2 volumes in there. So I'll select that. We'll go in here, and we could see both those volumes. If I go over to policies, here's that snapshot schedule that I created. So I'm going to edit that. We've only got that one pattern. I'm going to add another one in here. And why don't we do this one every hour, right? And let's see, and we won't do it on Sunday or Saturday, and I'll keep 24 of those around, and I'll click submit. Right. And then this will get pushed down into the environment, and we'll go back and we'll take a look, and you'll see that this has been modified into the environment. But again, managing one, managing the other, it's fine. Within your environment. But that just kind of gives you a taste of what you can do within the Data Services Cloud Console. Now, certainly there is a lot more that can go on, and I would engage with you to be able to talk to me and learn more about this. And even as you engage and create opportunities, I don't mind showing this to your end users as well. One of the other things I would like to show, and we will go back to, let's see, we'll go back to the Data Services Cloud Console. And I certainly had other tiles that are in here, and they're expanding these. And again, these are other solutions that you can go in and talk to your customer with. And one of the ones I'd like to point out real quickly is the backup and recovery service. All right, so if we launch into this, so this is like a backup software. It's cloud hosted instead of selling something in on site to be able to back up your customer's environment. If just to give you a little idea of how this integrates, if I go down, protection policies would be how I'm going to back up your environment and when I'm going to back it up. If I select that, all right, these are just different policies. I'm going to create a new one just so you could see it. Oops. Try that one more time. We're going to click next. And now I get different choices. Now, just so you know, this backup solution doesn't need to work with HPE storage solutions. It works better if it does because you get array-based snapshot and replication options. But if you don't, you could still use the on-premise data store as well as the cloud data store. But these are nice options. These certainly with the array-based snapshots, you'll get the instant type of virtual machine recovery, right? And I could expand that out, and I could certainly schedule that. Certainly I could do replicated. If I look at an on-premise protection store, there's two different ways that this could be utilized. You could certainly deploy a very big virtual machine in a customer's environment, and it'll be a repository for backups. And it's great for ransomware because it uses the Catalyst protocol. So it's not CIFS, it's not NFS, what ransomware loves to find, right? And I can make it immutable. And if you're worried about using a virtual machine, you could certainly integrate HPE's DDD offering, which is HPE's store once into this solution. But I think what's really cool about this is there is a cloud protection store. So your customers want to back up into the cloud. One of the biggest problems, especially with ransomware, right? It encrypts your data. So your backups get very large in the cloud. So you have 10 terabytes file share, maybe on your customer site that gets replicated up the cloud with ransomware. It's going to double that size in the cloud. And you got to pull that back out of the cloud to recover your environment. So that can be very costly in those type of infrastructure. With this backup, I can also set the immutability a bit, but with this backup, right, I can back up to the cloud and there's no egress fees out of this. So I guess I'm just giving you a taste of what this is, and we could certainly look at our backups over here. I go and search let's see, there we go. And we'll grab this guy here. And if I wanted to recover one of these backups, right, I would just have to select and do a recover option. And again, I could do that locally or in the cloud. But what's nice about this as we look at holistic, this is an upsell opportunity that you can have a conversation with on your customers after you sell them the storage, or they put the storage in place, right? And even if we go back to the Green Lake, there's other conversations that we can have beyond the storage when you talk to your customer. Compute Ops Management allows you to do firmware updates, right? And Aruba Central allows you to do network configurations and things of that nature. Right. So again, HPE is the only vendor that's out there that manages with a cloud-like perspective your entire stack within your customer's environment. So that's kind of my spiel. I know I went pretty quick. Who am I handing this over to now? Anybody?
Sorry, John.
It's all right.
Nope, we're just going to thank the audience. Let's see, what do we got? We got 3 minutes. So thank you everybody for attending today. We hope you found it valuable. You'll receive the slide presentation along with some contact information later today. And we hope you all have a great day. Hopefully see you Wednesday as well for our sizing and configuration portion.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.